Okay, next on Trends from the Trenches, we're going to talk about the new Canon announcements. There's 3 pieces of equipment they've announced that are pretty exciting, pretty interesting. So what did they announce?
So they got 2 cameras.
2 cameras.
Kind of the same.
Megapixel cameras.
The same. So they got the 5DS and the 5DSR. What's the difference right off the bat?
Basically, off the top, we have to say this is not a video camera.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's not teed up for video. It says right in the releases there's low sensitivity or high sensitivity, light sensitivity is not our game here. It's not what we're after. Not what we're interested in.
There was, I mean, for video, the video mode, it seems to me like it has the exact same features as the 5D Mark II.
Mark II
had. You know, so you don't have a headphone jack. You don't have clean HDMI out for 1080p. So, I mean, right away I'm going, okay. You don't have 60 frames at 1080p. You have 60 frames at 720. So it is basically like a 5D Mark II. In fact, I don't even think the 5D Mark II could do 720. It couldn't. The 60 frames.
No, it didn't have any slow motion at all. Until the 7D came out, they had slow motion. Yeah.
So, you know, very, very interesting right off the bat that this is a camera built for the still photographer in mind.
Absolutely.
Almost exclusive.
Exclusively.
Yeah.
Major but it's a full frame camera with huge megapixels. You know, you're talking what,
50.6 megapixels.
50.6 megapixels.
It's huge.
But we need to talk about the difference between the R and the
5DS and the 5DSR.
So 5DS and 5DSR. What's the difference?
So it has the 5DSR has a canceled low pass filter. What does that mean?
Basically, you're going to clean up your blacks and everything with the filter, but it's going to cause issues for video. You can't use it in video.
Okay.
As you pan with it, everything's it's the Jello effect.
The moire. So
Moire,
not necessarily
Jello,
not like someone's wearing this kind of a shirt and they start to move. You'll start to see this rainbow color start to show up. So that's going to be bad for the 5DSR. It's going to be real bad.
As far as it has what did you say? The crop, the crop in, so you can crop.
Right. So this is something I've never really understood for photo. The ability to crop. See, it has a 1.3 30 megapixel crop option or a 1.6 20 megapixel crop option. But
so you can't tell you can crop in on this image. I mean, you have to have the camera tell you. Put a piece of tape on the back if you can't.
So if you're
basically just cropping in.
A 200 millimeter lens and you want 310. Don't go into a setting and crop it. Just wait till you get it in post and you go, I'm going to crop this now. Shoot it at 50 megapixels. You're not losing any quality. I suppose there would be an advantage in memory. So if you didn't want to eat up so much memory, but you still wanted to shoot the still life at 20 megapixels, you know, if you want your lens, your 200 millimeter lens to be a 350 millimeter lens, you could do that, shoot 20 megapixel images, still tons of quality there. So that's maybe an option.
Well, it's a couple of things. ISO range 100 to 6400, which can be expanded to 50 to 128.
So 12,800.
12,800. So 50 to 12,800.
Can somebody explain this to me? This can be expanded business. I don't.
It's a software thing, is it not?
But I think it's built in. It's a feature that you have to go in and turn on in the camera. Could somebody please explain to me why that even has to, why can't it just be ISO 50 to 12,800?
Well, there must be, I don't know. I'm guessing there's some disadvantage to when you go to 50 and 12,800.
Probably just either dynamic range or the noise level. You got to lose something. So
you choose to turn it off if you're not using it.
Yeah.
But if I'm buying a 50 megapixel camera, I'm going to shoot it ISO 50.
Yeah.
I've got the whole. I mean, that is going to be so much information and so clean. I mean, it's the old thing in film. You didn't shoot, you don't shoot 400 ISO or ASA. You know, you get down to as low
100 or 50
ASA as you
even.
can. Yeah, so in ISO world, I'd be shooting at 50. It's going to be really clean. I don't like going above, if you're definitely got a lot of blacks and doing a still image, I don't want to go above 320 ever.
Wow.
If I can get away with it. No. In fact, if you can stay down in the lower range, it's really better. So 50, I think, gives you a lot of options. You know, really good. It's going to give you clean, vistas, clean kind of landscapes you can blow up into huge prints.
So let me ask you, are you going to get this camera?
No.
Why?
Everything I shoot advertising-wise is going to go into publications.
Yeah.
And if you can go to billboards,
24 megapixels is plenty?
Yeah.
Or 22, I think. The Mark
it's pushing it. If I'm going to really go to a billboard, I'm going to get on the Hasselblad and shoot on that bigger sensor.
Really?
Yeah. It just gives you so much information. It's gorgeous. So,
interesting.
Plus with the Zeiss lenses, it's really
true.
beautiful.
So the thing I think is interesting now is we've seen kind of we've talked about the full circle effect, right? So 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when DSLRs started implementing video, everyone exploded in the video world. They said, this is amazing. So all the companies, all like Canon and Nikon and Sony, everybody said, well, let's smash it together. So you had all these hybrid cameras. And then we started to see a separation again.
Well, Sony started it, you know. They're going, we're going to concentrate on stills in the A7S, but the A7R is more of a photography camera.
Exactly.
Not a movie camera.
And then Canon started to do it too. They said, well, people like this soft focus large sensor thing, so let's do the C100, 300, 500 line. And so everybody's kind of going back the other way now. So, but the great thing about this is now we have really video cameras that are meant for video with that soft focus large sensor built in with all the benefits that come with it. So you built in our ND filters, XLRs, and the kind of more of an ergonomic video camera, not so much the jello effect. So, but we've come full circle now. So now Canon's going, okay, back to the photographer.
Yeah, you've got to concentrate on your photographer somewhere in this process because not every photographer out there cares about video. In fact, most of the photographers out there don't care about video.
You think so?
You know, I don't think there's as many of them shooting as you say. I don't think 50% of the photographers out there are shooting video.
Interesting.
I don't think that's that high. Yeah. I think you still have a very strong contingency of still shooters and a strong contingency of crossover shooters.
Gotcha.
And then you have people who are just video. But you know what? What's the consistency in this conversation? What's the consistency?
I don't know.
It's lenses.
Yeah.
It's glass.
Yeah.
If you don't provide an outlet that solves your video issues, that solves your still issues, then you lose people start gravitating away from your glass and buying other glass. And so Canon's got to serve their photographers, still shooters. They've got to serve their video shooters. This is definitely a still shooter camera. The reason it has video on there is just, I mean, I don't know.
Well, if they didn't put some sort of 1080p 24, frame video format, people would just go, what the heck? That doesn't make any sense at all. Because I think let's say 20% of photographers like shooting video, then you got to at least put it on. You know what I mean? It's a feature you have the software already, just throw it in there and just make people at least somewhat satisfied.
Yeah. Let me go through some of the things I think are interesting on this camera. There is a built-in intervalometer, which
finally.
Forever I'm going, why hasn't Canon done that forever?
There you go.
You know?
I don't want this extra thing that's going to break.
Big old thing that sticks on. I did have one of those that broke. The cable, I'd throw it away, $150.
You got something sticking out of your camera and it's hanging on the ground. It says it's just short enough, the cable is, that when it's on a tripod, it's just hanging. It's just dangling always.
Always.
Hate that, man.
And it wouldn't turn off either.
And it's like you can't get a hot shoe mount for it or anything. It's just this weird, awkward, it's like an iPod shuffle. It's like, what am I going to do with this iPod shuffle?
It's the worst design ever.
I know, I agree.
It really is.
Faster processor, so you got a Digic 6 Plus processor.
Got to have a faster processor.
Well,
you got a 40 megapixel.
Twice as big.
Oh no, 50 megapixel.
Yeah,
I keep saying 40.
50.6.
You got to have a faster processor. You got a 50 megapixel camera. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting there waiting for your images to load. And
so yeah.
It's on the high end price wise. You're almost at $4,000.
37 and 3,900 respectively. I still don't think I understand this low pass filter effect thing.
I'm not sure we said it right. Maybe we did say it right, but I still don't understand it.
Okay.
So hey, Frank, give us some advice. Give us some perspective about the low pass filter. Tell us what you know.
Low pass filter is like an anti-aliasing filter. Other companies have called it anti-aliasing to prevent moire. In other companies, they have removed it entirely.
Okay.
With Canon, what it seems they have done is redesigned it so it is not entirely removed, but basically toned way down, so you could still get moire, but it's heightening the sharpness and the dynamic range. They don't say by how much yet. When we get it, we're going to test it and see.
Absolutely.
But it's a very interesting concept because they still feel that they need it, as opposed to just removing it like some other companies.
The thing that they said was that they decided not to remove the filter because it would have, they wanted to match the optical length of both cameras. So they didn't want lenses they would have had to mechanically redesign the entire camera if they removed it entirely.
And more software corrections for the lens aberrations and so forth.
Gotcha.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how this really
it still
looks.
has the filter. They just maybe have a layer that they've removed in the filter, or maybe some software cancellation.
Or a combination of both.
But it possibly increases the sharpness.
Definitely increases the sharpness.
It would have to increase the sharpness.
With the possibility of more moire.
Definitely.
Well, it's saying, you're going to get more moire with it.
More moire. That's kind of
more
fun.
moire.
Say that
More
10 times
moire.
fast.
But a good photographer can eliminate some of that with the proper use of lights and angles. So I see people buying that one as opposed to the straight S version off the bat, because right now people want, what's the biggest,
Clarity.
what's the best, what's the most, what's the sharpest. So that's going to be the one I think that is going to be right out of the gate the best selling, and we'll see how the other one does.
Gotcha.
The other one seems like so close. It'll be really fascinating to see these. They seem like almost the same camera.
Well, essentially they are.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So tell me this. So who buys this camera, Frank?
A lot of fashion photographers who are shooting day in, day out with lots of fabrics, lots of outdoor stuff where they don't have as much control of the light. There could be some science uses on this just because of the sharpness. The astrophotographers who want absolute sharpness, landscape people who know they're going to make 30 by 40 footprints or perhaps smaller.
Yeah.
And just those people who got to have the biggest and best.
So how does this cross over and compare to a like the Pentax medium format digital camera?
It's going to be very close and hard to tell because that's at 40, but it's a bigger sensor, and they have outstanding lenses, 14-bit. It's going to be very tough to see because once we see this and we actually can physically look at a file,
Yeah, it'd be
it's
really
going to give
interesting
Pentax a run for the money. But if they can do this, then why can't Hasselblad,
Sure.
Pentax, etc.
That'll be the next
up
step.
the ante?
Yeah.
And then we're driving a Ferrari around LA and never getting out of first gear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's going to be. And we have a 300 megapixel camera.
Well, they have it. Hasselblad has a 200 megapixel camera, right?
Potentially, what they do is a multi-pass type of thing. In fact, Olympus just announced a multi-pass kind of camera. So in their little 4/3 format, they're going to equal a 40 megapixel camera with the same sort of technology.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's I don't think it's so much in a lot of cases about the size of the image, but it is about the gradation. I think if the gradation proves on this 50 to be, you probably remember what a 4x5 contact print would look like, a black line, and it's just rich tones. You're like, wow, it doesn't matter how big it is, it's just rich.
Yeah.
I think that's hopefully
we're
what's
gonna
going to happen
get.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'll
Interesting.
be exciting. We've got to get our hands on
Absolutely.
one of these and do a test. So.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Frank. Not only does Frank
You're
have a
welcome.
wealth of information, he also has a great beard, and for that we appreciate him.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much,
you soon.
Frank. All right, we have to talk about the new lens that Canon just came out with. They just announced it's going to arrive here later in this month, in February. It's an 11 to 24 millimeter
Ultra wide, full frame.
full frame, but an f4 lens
Throughout.
F4 throughout.
Yeah.
That's a pretty amazing lens. Why is that an amazing lens?
Well, so Canon is saying that this is, and I believe them, the widest full frame lens that is in the world that exists, and with a 126 degree field of view, which is insane. But they're also saying that what makes this lens so special is that it's straight lines. So you're not going to get massive amounts of distortion. They've got a few different things going on in here. So they've got 16 elements in 11 groups. So already
imagine all that going around.
so as you're zooming, you've got these elements that have to counteract.
Well, they're
with
trying to
the-
correct all the issues as you zoom in and out.
Right, exactly. So in addition to that, they've also got special UD elements and coatings for dealing with chromatic aberration. So you've got, I mean, the amount of elements in this lens, I can't even start to imagine. You know, and it doesn't look very big.
Well,
it really
no,
doesn't.
it's not huge. That's the thing about it. In a compact body there, it's not like
Yeah.
you made this great big lens
Right.
to be able to move this stuff. Well, a couple of things. It has a built-in lens shade.
Yeah.
So it means you probably can't put filters on this thing. You definitely can't put screw-in filters on it. It's got a built-in lens shade. You can probably put some kind of filter on the outside of it, you know, in some sort.
I almost don't even think you can if you're shooting at 11 millimeters. Like that's
That's
it's
100
so wide that a map box is going to be like half the frame. You know what I mean? It's just
But it focuses at what? A foot?
11 inches.
11 inches?
Yeah.
So you can get fairly close.
Yep.
You know, we're just talking about this. If you get close on a subject, fills a frame. If you go past 11 inches, you're really starting into macro photography at that
Right.
point with lenses like this. So.
It's got a $3,000 price tag. So I think as far as the L series lineup, this is the most expensive Canon lens. But if it creates straight lines at 11 millimeters with minimal distortion, like they say it can, then every architecture photographer will have one.
Well, the
Landscape.
obvious are landscape, architecture, anything you want to correct those, that rectilinear experience. I've never had this to 11 millimeters. I mean, that's not an F4 throughout.
Full frame?
Yeah.
Yikes. I mean, Tokina's got the 11 to 16 millimeter lens for crop sensors, and that's wide. If you've seen that, you're going, wow,
I have that lens, actually.
It's fun. It's really fun
Yeah.
on a crop sensor. But 11 millimeters, 11 to 24 millimeters on a full frame sensor, that's just like, that's like GoPro.
All right, so there's kind of a wrap up of Canon's new announcements. More information to come on this because we're going to get our hands on these, we're going to shoot with them, and we're going to give you an idea of what we think when they're in action. So if you want to see the rest of these segments, you can go to theslantedlens.com where we have this entire show tied together. It posted at the very beginning of the month. Or on our YouTube channel, each of these segments post once a week. So check it out. And also
the podcast. So if you guys want to listen to this all in one run on the way to work, on your commute, drive, or whatever, you're sitting at your computer and you've got some headphones in while you're doing some homework, if you can do that. I can't do that.
I can't do that either.
But we have the podcast. Subscribe, download the podcast. We'd love it if you did.
Yep.
I like podcasts. I'm a podcast guy.
Share our show with friends. So we need to grow so we can keep providing this content for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so check it out, theslantedlens.com or on YouTube.